A few years ago, I had a business lunch at a small but very upscale restaurant in New York. The woman sitting directly across from me was in her 40s and was very well dressed. Her hair and everything else were perfectly in place. In fact, at first glance, she gave the impression of someone who takes good care of herself and is generally quite trustworthy. Then the meal began. I placed my phone face up on the table. I noticed she opened and closed the menu 3 times while ordering. "What are you having?" she asked, and when the waiter arrived, she didn't even look at him. Every time she tapped her fork against the plate, the table shook slightly. Do you think I'm overreacting by being too sensitive about these things? Absolutely not, because I can tell you this clearly. Everyone at that table noticed it. The only difference is that everyone chose not to say anything. This video is exactly about that moment of silence that happened there. I want you to know this. No one will tell you this behavior gives you away in this way. But everyone takes note of it somewhere in their mind, in a way they won't forget. In fact, American researchers call this thin slicing, meaning people only need a few seconds to form an impression of someone, and that impression actually takes shape quite clearly right there at the table. In this video, I'll explain 6 effective behaviors related to this. These aren't just manners lessons. These are things that reveal who you truly are, whether you want them to or not. And there's a very good chance you might be doing at least one of them without even realizing it. I recommend watching the video all the way through, because the 5th point reveals a truth that many women wouldn't even suspect. By the way, if you like the video and subscribe to our channel, you'll be supporting me in the most effective way. 1. You don't place your phone face up on the table. For example, when you sit down at a table, where exactly is your phone? In your pocket, in your bag, or on the table with the screen facing you? I want you to visualize this. To be honest, many women do this as an automatic reflex. They think an important message might come in, of course, or say, I just choose it randomly anyway. That's exactly where the problem lies. Putting your phone on the table might seem like a very small thing, but believe me, it's not. A detailed study conducted at the University of Virginia clearly demonstrates that even a phone simply sitting in plain sight on the table significantly reduces the quality of communication between people, diminishes empathy, and makes the person across from you feel like you're not fully present. Even if the phone doesn't ring or vibrate, just having it there is enough. The brain is already on constant alert in the background, waiting for a potential notification, and if you're doing this, you're essentially telling the other person's brain the same thing. You must understand this clearly. The other person feels it, not in words, but instinctively. The feeling that this woman is here, but she's not fully here, begins to build up and grow throughout the entire meal, and what's left at the end of it all? They remember you, but they can't quite explain to themselves why they weren't fully captivated. That phone is essentially invisible, but its impact lingers for a long time afterward. As you might expect, a sophisticated woman knows this. She puts her phone in her bag and zips it shut immediately. This isn't really a sacrifice, it's a clear choice. It's an extremely effective way of saying, I'm here right now. After all, presence draws people in far more than an expensive outfit. Try this once. At your next meal, don't put your phone on the table, just this once, and see how the person across from you behaves differently. 2. You know what you want when you order. You're at a restaurant and of course the waiter has come over. You're looking at the menu. What are you having? Is this good? Should I get this? I'd like to order this, but it doesn't come with that. Or would it be better if I got that instead? Do these questions sound familiar to you? Maybe it's not exactly like that, but some of them are a bit similar, aren't they? Maybe you just ask one question too many, or you go through a process that drags on like this. It doesn't matter. The result always ends up the same. First, let me say this. Indecision seems innocent, and I completely understand that. However, it also sends out a signal at the table. I don't trust myself yet. And this isn't just something that applies to choosing a meal, especially the people across from you. Instinctively and clearly register this in their minds. Most of the time, they do this without even realizing it. Because studies by Stanford's Department of Social Psychology clearly demonstrate a very direct link between decision-making, speed, and perceived self-confidence. People who make quick and decisive decisions are perceived as far more competent and reliable. So whether you're at the dinner table, in a meeting room, or anywhere else in the life you envision, what I'm saying applies. Of course, there's one reality: you're not obligated to look at the menu beforehand. However, when the server arrives, you need to be prepared for this situation. You should finish the sentence by saying, "I'll have this," period. If anyone makes a suggestion, you should respond by saying something like, "Thank you, but this already includes that," and wrap things up without dragging it out or haggling. After all, the waiter is a human being and has limited time. There are times when they need to attend to other tables, and there are others waiting, right? So your role here isn't to be the woman keeping them waiting, but the woman who gets their attention. I'd also like to add one more small note. According to customer behavior studies conducted in the US, it was found that the customers most remembered in restaurants are those who place their orders clearly and politely. So, when waitstaff remember you, it leads to better service. And this is definitely not just a side effect. But the main point here is this: everyone at your table will also remember you more because of it, because you're decisive, very calm, and confident. What I'm saying might seem like a small thing, but believe me, many small things, when added one after another, help shape a great character. 3. You keep the sound of your cutlery under control. Let me ask you this. What do you feel when you tap your fork or knife against the plate or scrape it across the plate? Probably nothing. Because you're not aware of it while doing it. Just as you don't think about how you breathe when you wake up in the morning. You don't think about how the fork lands on the plate at the table. It's automatic, it's habitual, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. As a different anecdote, I'd like to share this. There was a woman I met last year, Elif, 45 years old, the finance director of a large company in Istanbul. She had short hair, always dressed in navy or grey, the kind of woman who fills the room the moment she walks into a meeting. But she always felt tense during business lunches, and she couldn't figure out why. She told me, "People don't take me seriously. They don't listen to what I say." We ate together. Unfortunately, I noticed. After every bite, the fork clattered down onto the plate. Every movement of the knife made a sound. She wasn't aware of it, but everyone at the table was focusing on that sound. Not on her, but on the sound. Her ideas were getting lost on the table after every clatter of the fork. There's also this. Fork and knife control isn't just a matter of etiquette. It's about muscle memory and conscious movement. Masters describe this as controlled slowness. Make every movement a little slower, a little more deliberate. When placing the fork on the plate, simply set it down. Don't slam it. When pulling the knife across the plate, let your fingers guide the movement, not your wrist. At first, it feels strange and unnatural. Then it becomes natural. Then it becomes yours. Later on, Elif put this into practice. She decided to be mindful during just one meal a day. 6 weeks later, she told me, "I feel different at business lunches now. I can't quite explain why, but something has changed." I know. The room didn't change. Elif did. And the silence at the table was now working in her favor. 4. Make eye contact with the waiter, but not too much. Here's the thing. There are 2 types of women at the table. The first type, she doesn't look at the waiter at all, shouts her order into the air and acts as if the waiter isn't even there. The second type acts overly friendly toward the waiter, turns everything into a big performance, says, "Oh, you're so sweet," and drags things out unnecessarily. Both are wrong, and both convey the same thing. I'm not entirely comfortable in this setting. One tries to hide it with coldness, the other with warmth. The result is the same. I also want you to know this. True grace resides in that fine line between the two. When the waiter approaches your table, turn toward them. Look them in the eye, without flinching but without staring. Say thank you while looking at them, not at the floor. Then return to your conversation. That's it. No grand gesture, no fake warmth, no performance, just a genuine, brief, clear moment of humanity. That moment is what reveals you in a positive way. Looking at it from a different angle, research on social hierarchy shows that how you treat people in the service industry is perceived as a true indicator of character, especially by business partners, new acquaintances, and those who don't yet fully know you. Someone who treats a server disrespectfully will, sooner or later, treat others the same way. Everyone at the table knows this. They all take note. No one says anything, but it's noted. The critical question here is, how do you behave? When placing an order, are you looking at your phone or at the server? When you say thank you, do you mean it? Or is it just a reflex? Next time you eat out, just observe this. Without judging yourself, just observe. What you see will tell you a lot. 5. You are not the first to start eating. Before I begin this very important point, let me first clarify that this is something that rarely even crosses most women's minds. The food arrives, the plate is sitting hot in front of you, you're hungry, you pick up your fork. Natural, instinctive, but wrong. And let me tell you, after reading this point at your next meal, you'll observe everyone sitting at the table. You'll see that this is far more common than you think. Essentially, starting to eat before everyone's plate is full sends a message. Without you realizing it, I don't know how to wait. This is the most polite form of impatience. And because it's polite, it sends an even sharper signal. No one says anything to you. No one frowns. No one issues a warning. But something is noted silently, permanently. American. Behavioral researchers have shown that this behavior, which they call waiting tolerance in social dining settings, is directly linked to perceptions of leadership. Who waits? Who is patient? Who reads the room? These questions are automatically answered at the table. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, born in Hierapolis, says, "Stand firm against pleasure. Stop so that you may understand whether you have truly chosen it or not." Waiting at the table is exactly this: a brief pause, a breath, a second before picking up the fork. The quietest, most powerful way of saying, "I am here and I am in no hurry." This is not a rule, it is a sign of maturity. And maturity is always most evident in those small moments. For example, try this at your next meal. Wait until everyone's plate is full, look at the menu, drink some water, talk, then start. That's all. It's not a huge effort, but the impact is significant. This single act will make you the calmest, most composed person at the table. Calmness is contagious, and it's something only the strong can carry. 6. You don't speak while chewing, you do it after putting down your knife. Let me give you an example. You want to say something, you have a thought, you're excited, and it feels like the perfect moment. And you start speaking while your mouth is full. Do you realize you're doing this? Probably not, because your attention isn't there. It's on what you're about to say. But everyone else at the table is paying attention to something else. And that important thing you're about to say disappears before it even leaves your mouth. Besides that, years ago, there was a woman at a small business meeting in London, let's call her Sarah, in her 50s, with dark red hair. She was the kind of person who spoke very clearly and decisively, the kind who drew people's attention the moment she entered the room. Her ideas were truly brilliant. What she said was valuable, original, and worth listening to. But every time she spoke while chewing, just a little, perhaps most people wouldn't even notice. But it was noticeable. Eyes in the room weren't on what she was saying. They kept going back and forth to her mouth. The meeting ended. Everyone left. Then someone turned to me and said, "Sarah's ideas were good, but that but erased everything. The impression she'd built up over the years cracked in a few seconds. Put the knife down on the plate, swallow, then speak." Those 3 seconds sound very simple, and they are. But their effect isn't simple. That brief pause lends weight to your words. What you say comes across as stronger, is heard more clearly, and is remembered longer, because something paused for them. Preparation draws attention. It's not the woman who rushes who speaks, it's the woman who takes her time, and she is listened to. Of course, elegant speaking begins before you even speak. At the table, this becomes physically visible to everyone, every time. What you're about to say has value. You don't want to bury that value in a moment of chewing. Let it be swallowed, then speak. That's when you'll truly be heard. After these 6 points, I'd like to say this very briefly. None of these are actually big things on their own. But grace, as I said, isn't made up of grand gestures. It's built by the accumulation of small, consistent choices, one after another. Finally, I'd like to ask you this, sincerely, how many of these 6 points are you already practicing? Now go to the comments section and write, "No more excuses." That's it. It's not a long post, not an explanation, not a list. Just this sentence. Because the woman who writes this sentence has accepted something about herself, and acceptance is the only true starting point for change. I read every single comment from every woman who writes this. I take it seriously, and I want to see you there too. If you liked this video and want more women to see it, share it. Content like this needs you to reach the people who need to see it. See you in the next video. I love you, and I want you to love yourself too.